Thank you so much, Janine, for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me to be your guinea pig for the first one. I'm so excited.
Yeah, for those who don't know, when I was kind of planning the genesis of this podcast, I was essentially like, I wanted to do a spooky-ish type first episode because it's coming out late October, and I knew that Janine was into the spook, and so I was essentially like, congratulations, you're absolutely on my podcast first episode.
No pressure at all
Yeah,
whatsoever.
exactly.
Oh.
Basically, I just want to talk to the people in my life about their relationship with reading and a book that means a lot to them or they really enjoyed or they'd really just like to talk about. And so today we're talking about Joe Hill's Horns. But before we get into the actual book, we're going to start off by learning a little bit about Janine and her relationship with reading. But first, how did we meet, Janine?
We met, I don't even remember what year, to be honest. But you were my manager at the bookstore. So I worked with Indigo for, oh my gosh, like 10 years before, like all the way through. I started off at like a smaller store at Northgate, and then I transferred to City Center, which for Edmonton people, you know. And that's where I met you. You came to be my manager. I was already there for like maybe a year or two before you started.
Oh, that's it?
I think so. Yeah, because it was you took over from Brittany, right?
Yeah, Kristen.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my God. Yeah. Sorry. There's been a lot of managers in my time.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, that's how. And we just like I don't know. It was always just so easy to talk to you, both like at work and not at work. So here we are.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I was trying to do the math. I was like barely 27 when I first, which like is an adult, I guess, but
Yeah.
it's also like I have no business managing people.
Do you ever really feel like an adult though? Like I
No,
turned 31 in November, and I'm just like, still feel like a teenager. Still don't know what I'm doing. Still making it up day by day. Like
our friends getting pregnant, and we're like, teen mom.
Seriously, right? Some of my friends are on like their second kid now, and I'm just like, whoa, what is life?
Yeah, I got school tomorrow. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we met. So I kind of knew Janine was already a reader, you know, and so yeah, this is perfect. But when did you get into reading? Were you a kid reader or was it later in life?
No, it was I don't really remember. I don't remember like the first book I ever read. I just always have been reading. That was just something like growing up in my house. So I have one sister who's 6.5 years older than I am, and my mom and my dad divorced when like I was super young. And so growing up as like in the house of a single mom, obviously there's not a lot of extra money for stuff. And so, but books were like the one thing she'd never say no to. So I learned really quick. If we walked into a bookstore, I was leaving with something. I was leaving with a book. Amazing. So it was really nice that she encouraged it that way. And she was like, well, you could be doing drugs. So, you know, what's a book, right?
Yeah, true. That is such a like a North Side kid story. That's so funny.
Truly. So like, I'm like, even because it's like Halloween and everything, like I have food allergies. Like I'm allergic to peanuts. So like when I was a kid, I couldn't really trick or treat. Like I'd go and I'd like trade off with my friends for like all the good shit, like the chips and the soda pop and stuff that you get. And they could literally have everything else in my bag because peanut-free candy, which just wasn't a thing. And my mom felt so bad. So she would take me and my sister to the bookstore and she'd be like, hey, go nuts. So for like Easter, go nuts at the bookstore. Like, so yeah. And like, I remember she'd read me like Harry Potter in bed at night. Like, I feel like as kids, we all have like Harry Potter memes, you know, but yeah, so it was just always there. It was always something in my life and always loved it. I love being able to like explore other worlds. Like even when I was younger, like fantasy became like a really big part of like my reading, I don't know, repertoire, I guess. But I've branched out through other genres now, quite a bit. And there's still some genres that I tend to come back to. And so like horror, I didn't even like horror movies like a little while ago. Like I grew up such a big scaredy cat. Like I was not into horror movies. Nothing scary. Really?
Oh shit.
And so Colton and I met in high school.
Yeah. Colton is Janine's husband, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
Gorgeous.
married now. Been
Yeah.
together like our 14th anniversary this month. Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Crazy.
it's been a while. But I met him, and his favorite movie was Saw. That was one
Ah,
of our initial. I know
that's such
one
a
of our
boy.
initial. I was like, how is that not a red flag? Like for you to be like, oh, my favorite movie is Saw after you first start dating a girl. Like, ooh, yikes.
Yeah,
So like, still not into like the body horror aspect, but I've definitely come to like appreciate horror as a really expansive and exciting genre.
yeah. Mhm.
And it's just, I don't know, it touches on so many different things, and there's so many different types of horror and things that can scare you in different ways. And like that kind of like little rush is like exciting. It's like
Mhm.
going off a roller coaster, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's safe because you're at home, you're curled up on your couch, like you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it.
Oh, yeah.
So
So what were you so before you were like before Colton kind of turned you, I guess. Like what were you reading when you were little? Like what was little Janine like feral
like
for in the bookstore?
everything. I remember there was the series, what was it? What was it even called? Oh my god, it was like The Amazing Days of Abby Hayes or something like that.
Mm.
So I guess like the equivalent would probably be like Diary of a Wimpy Kid or something. Like
Oh,
there's
sure.
always like an equivalent. I became obsessed with the Spiderwick Chronicles when I was a kid.
Mm.
That was my fucking jam. Like I saw those at the book fair and I was like, Mom, come on, I need these. And she was like, Are you joking? They're $16 for a hardcover book. And I was like, But they're
Oh,
not gonna come into paperback because it's like the
yes.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid. They don't come into paperback.
Yeah.
So that was it. And that was like my big jump into fantasy and like
Yeah.
elves and like all that kind of stuff. So that
Nice.
really got me.
Nice. 16
Uh,
bucks for a hardcover? Fuck, I
back
wish.
Hell yeah.
RIP. Yeah.
Like, you can barely even get a mass market these days for $16.
Oh God. Now they're like 42
Right.
like minimum. It's terrible.
I know we're gonna dive into like Joe Hill, but like his book comes out next week. So his newest book, King Sorrow, comes out October 21st, and I'm
Mhm.
so excited. I've been looking forward to it for ages. God, the cover price is $50 for a
Ew, is it really?
50.
Oh
50. And then Jake
no.
the Stuff comes out in like November. That one's also $50. And I'm like,
Jesus
for
Christ.
$2, $100 for $2.
And I know
It's
we
getting
spend
rough out
hours
there.
And I know we spend hours with them, so it's like you kind of get a lot of enjoyment for your money, but
And
50
you can
bucks?
read them. But like up front,
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, like books
Yeah.
used to be so cheap when I was a kid. I
Yeah.
didn't know how good I had it back then.
hmm
Yeah.
So it's safe to say, like nowadays, you read fantasy, you read a little. I know you read a little bit of romance. I know you read horror.
Yeah.
What are some of the genres you don't touch?
I would probably say things like maybe sports, like biographies. Like I'm not really into, but like I've been able to dive into like a lot of different genres because Colton and I started our book club.
Yes,
I
true.
don't know if that's like a nice segue into that,
It
but
is. Yeah, tell us.
um, yeah. So Colton and I started a book club in 2018. That was our first one because we had found a book called The Devil in the White City. That's what kind of
Mm,
kicked it off. So it's an Eric Larson book. It's nonfic,
mm.
and it's a really good mix of like history and true crime. And it's the
Oh,
only nonfiction book I've read where he actually has like cliffhangers in his chapters. Yeah,
oh.
it's a really intense read. And of course, like some of it's a little boring, but there's like really interesting facts interspersed
hmm
throughout. For those who don't know, it's like the World's Fair, like the history
hmm
behind the historical World's Fair, tied with a serial killer, H.H. Holmes, who would like lure
Oh,
people into
shit.
his murder hotel. Um, and how that was all happening at like the exact same time. And he
hmm
used the fair and like the influx of people to like manipulate people into staying into his hotel and killing
Oh,
people.
God.
So yeah, it's like a super like weird mix
hmm
of genres. And so Colton and I were like, oh, we really want to read this book. How about we read it together?
Oh,
And that kind of kickstarted a book club. I bought it for
that's
him for Christmas in December 2017.
okay.
And the whole next year, I was like, why don't we just keep it going? And we like pick a book to read together every month. Cause he had just started, like, once I started working at the bookstore when we were in high school,
hmm
that was kind of like his intro to reading as well. He wasn't really a big reader before.
Yeah.
And
Speak
Horns
as
was
you
actually
watch, you
one of
saw.
yeah, right? But of course, Horns is like the first book he picks up like while I'm working at the bookstore. Like I'm pretty sure I sold it to him.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, signed him up for a plum card and everything.
Mm.
But yeah.
Do you guys
So
have, like, a name for your book club, or is it just, like, read more wife?
I've just started calling it Team Pandachuck Book Club. Like I have
Oh,
little I keep track of the books we read on like little cards.
so
So
cute.
like this is for this year. So I'm like it's not fully filled yet.
Yeah,
But
for
yeah, so I
audio-only
just tuck
listeners,
them into
Janine's
like
holding up, like, old school library cards, like, sign-out cards. They're so cool, handmade for her and her husband's book club. May that love absolutely find me.
yeah, I'm pretty lucky. But
Yeah,
yeah, so I keep those in my bullet journal. I just tuck them in. It's literally like the library like thing that's pasted into the front covers of books,
yeah.
and I slide it in there, and that's how we keep track of it. So, because I have the memory of a goldfish, so
Yeah, yeah,
gotta write
felt.
it down.
And so you
So
guys push each other genre-wise is why you were saying you've kind of expanded genres, right?
yeah, so we read. Oh my god, we read everything now. We read classics. We
Yeah.
read like Malcolm Gladwell together.
Mhm,
We like he got me to start reading manga. I've read
mm,
like Junji Ito books. Uzumaki is amazing.
mhm,
Um, and we try to pick like a really good variety throughout the year. Some years we're better at it than others. We have like a few favorite authors that we tend to like gravitate to, so we'll reread like or like we'll jump on like new releases that are coming out. Like
yeah,
Brandon Sanderson's a really favorite big author of his. So we'll read some of those together. Mostly standalones. I haven't dived into like his whole big series yet, but he made me
mhm,
read Mistborn.
mhm,
And so for 1 month out of the year, we also do like a partner pick.
mhm,
So that is something like I would pick something that I've read that he hasn't, and he would pick something that he's read that I haven't, so that we
mhm,
can still like talk about it and know what's
yeah,
going on. So like for this year, I actually just finished listening to the audiobook of 11/22/63 by Stephen King.
mhm.
That is one of his all-time favorite books.
Yeah, I
Uh,
heard it slapped.
it actually did. It was so good. I finished that. That was like a 40-hour audiobook that I blew
Yeah.
through in 2 days of
Oh,
work. So
that's crazy. And so
yeah, that
when Team Pandachuck congregates about the book, do you have, like, a specific, like, date about it, or do you just yap about it while you're reading, or how does that work?
we just yap about it while we're reading it. Like
Mhm,
we have 2 dogs. We take our dogs for a walk
mhm,
pretty much every night. So
mhm,
yeah, that's kind of like our touch point to like chat about our days and like what's going on. And I read a lot. Like I'll pick up the book at lunch while I'm reading. I work from home.
mhm,
I'll read in the evenings before bed. So we
yeah.
just kind of like if something crazy happens, he's usually nearby, or I'll text him and be like, "Oh my god, what the hell just happened?"
Yeah. Oh, that's so cute. How many books would you say you read a year?
Good
Do you keep
question.
track like a psycho
I
like I
do
do?
actually, I
Oh,
do.
do you?
I never really count actually. I have a little spread in my bullet journal that I will literally write down every single book that I read, and I
Mhm,
also keep track on the Storygraph app. I'm a big fan of that. I think last year I was close to like 45. I just hit 40, I think,
okay.
um, for this year. So, but it varies. Like I have seasons where like my work gets really busy and I can't read as much.
Mhm,
So I
yeah.
would say anywhere from like 30 to 50 or more per year, depending.
Yeah, that makes sense. The same as me, like a book a week-ish kind of, if everything
Yeah.
is going as per usual.
Right. And then and sometimes it doesn't end up happening. Like I don't read as much as I want to read, or I
Mhm.
fall off. Like I love playing video games too. We play board games with friends. So
Yeah,
sometimes like we have a pickup in other hobbies and the reading falls off to the side, and that's
yeah.
okay.
Mhm,
Um, we get back on it eventually. And
mhm.
yeah, so it just like it's really nice to just have a book on the go all the time.
Yeah, or 2. Or do you ever do, like, a few at once or nah?
Sometimes, yeah, especially if
Mm,
I'm listening to like an audiobook while I work, I'll have like another book going, like a physical copy that I read
yeah,
like in the evenings before bed.
nice.
Um, but yeah,
That's
that's
so cool. I've been, on my personally, a really big kick of, like, slow building, coming of ages, no plot, just vibes books, like thickies that, like, nothing much really happens, but they're so satisfying for some reason.
is it
How do
just
you
like the
feel.
characters that like draw you to that?
I guess,
Yeah.
like, just 'cause it's so detailed in who they are, I just feel like it's like I'll have a thought like, "Oh my god, somebody's dance recital is next week," and I'll be like, "Oh, wait, no, that was somebody in my book." Like, I'll be like, I think I have to, like, these are people in my life that I have obligations with, which is
I
crazy.
love that though. They
Yeah.
just become so real. I love it.
Yeah, exactly, but do you like, are there certain like style? Like, are there pacing things where you're like, oh, I would love that, or I'm more plot driven, or what do you think plot versus character?
Oh, I don't really think about it that much, honestly. I just read everything. Like I'm
Hmm.
really just one of those readers. I don't think too much about it.
Yeah.
Um, if it I like it when it kind of sucks me in at the beginning.
Hmm.
I would say the hardest thing for me to get through is something that's like kind of a slog that doesn't really pick up till like halfway through.
Yep, that's fair.
But I've read a mix of both. Like I've read things that are like more character driven or more plot
Hmm.
driven. Like I really love like fun worlds that get built and that
Hmm.
take time. So I'm kind of all over the map, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, me too. I can take it all. So I was gonna ask, like, what elements of a book to you make for like a 5-star read? Like, what is like the creme de la creme? Like, what does that look like? But maybe it might be hard to pinpoint for you in that
It
case.
is, and it's different for like every genre too. And yeah. Oh, I really love good characters. I'm
Mhm.
actually really partial to books that have kind of like a what's the term? Like an unreliable narrator. I
Oh,
find them
sure.
aggravating to read and I bitch about the characters constantly. But
Yeah.
I always find them the most intriguing and the books
Mhm.
that stick with me the longest
Mhm.
come from really unreliable narrators and like really
Interesting.
complicated characters.
Yeah.
So
How do you
yeah.
feel about unlikable characters? Because I struggle with like unlikable protagonists. Like, I'm like, if I truly don't like you and it's a character driven book, I'm like, I hate you. Why am I doing this to myself?
That combo, yeah, that would be really hard for me.
Yeah. But if the plot is good,
And
sure,
like
let's
yeah,
hate read it.
exactly. Like the book that comes
Yeah.
to mind for me for an example of that is The Magicians by Lev Grossman.
Okay.
Um, we love that series. It is so good. It is amazing. Hate the fucking main character. He is the
Really?
worst. He is the worst. He makes dumb decisions.
Yeah.
He pisses off everybody else in his life, and it's like he never fucking learns. And it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah. Um, and then yeah, I would say actually that's probably my biggest pet peeve is characters that never learn and always do like the dumbest shit ever. Like
Yeah.
I one of the only series that I've ever not finished
Mhm.
was City of Bones, and that might do
Oh,
it.
interesting. Is that
But
Cassandra Clare?
Cassandra Clare, I have
Yeah.
big beef with Cassandra Clare. I just like that series. Oh, it just yeah. I could not finish that. And it was
Mhm.
it was a character thing, like, she just was so useless the
Yeah,
entire time.
yeah.
Something would happen, and we'd be on, like, book 4 at this point, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Have you learned nothing?" Like,
Mhm.
there needs to be progress, there needs to be development.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. I think one of my pet peeves is like if the main plot of their like the relationship between two people hinged on like a misunderstanding that could have been resolved had they just been adults who talked. And I
Yeah,
like
have a proper fucking conversation about
yes.
it, like, one conversation is all it takes.
Yeah, have you read
Yeah.
Gabrielle Zevin's Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow?
No, I haven't.
Oh my god, there's a part
I have
where
mixed things on that one, but yeah.
oh, fuck. There's a part where, like, there's a misunderstanding about, like, one of the characters sees something written on a sticky note on something, or it's written on, like, a CD or something like that, and then they make an assumption based on what that note said, and there's, like, a 10-year fallout between the 2, and I'm like, "You could"
Years. Wow.
I'm like,
No.
"Idiots, both of you. You could have just talked to each other." And this makes, like, all this buildup in this book that made me wanna like you and root for you is dashed because you're stupid. So
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, infuriating.
Totally.
Segueing into Joe Hill, how did you get into Joe Hill? Was it because you sold horns to Colton?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, when we first started reading that, I don't even think we knew at the time that that was Stephen King's son.
Mhm.
Spoiler alert, he's Stephen
Yes.
King's son, we're gonna talk about it.
Yep.
But I something about it, like, really got to Colton, and Colton was like, "Oh, you should really read this book, I really loved it." And
Yeah.
that, like, up until that point, his experience with books were, like, John Green, and, like, not shit on John Green, but, like, all of his books are kinda the same. Same thing.
Facts. Yeah,
Like,
sure. Yeah.
love
Love
him as a
him.
human, love a
I
few of his books. Like, I've read Looking for
yeah.
Alaska, really enjoyed it, but, like, I read a few and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm good now,
Yeah.
thanks."
I eat it up every time, though. Don't get it
Yeah,
twisted. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I love it.
100%, like,
Yeah.
it's like a fluffy romance book, like, you know what you're gonna get, and you
Yeah.
get it, and that's great.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and that kind of was like, "Oh, this is, like, something really different."
Yeah, yeah.
And kind of something that we've never read before. Like up until that point, I don't think I had even really read a horror book.
Mm.
Like my mom had Stephen King sitting on our bookshelves and she didn't even finish it. Like
Oh,
I'm pretty
really?
sure at her house she still has like a 40-year-old copy of it or like whenever it came out. But like one of the original hardcovers and it freaked her out too much to continue reading it.
Yeah.
So horror was
Oh,
never really part of my genre growing up.
yeah.
So that was kind of it. So he was like, I
Mm.
really think you should read it. I think you might like it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. Oh, and one more question just about your reading habits before we get into the first section. Um, how often I came across this on r/books on Reddit, but people were asking how often do you DNF books? And a lot of people were saying they DNF books. So if you're not a reader, do not finish is DNF. So basically, how often do you give up on the books you're reading? And a lot of people were saying that they DNF books like 50% of the time or more. I'm like, what?
Could never be
Respectfully?
me.
Yeah, I was like, what is
No.
wrong with everyone here? How often do
I
you
don't
do?
pick up a book if there's a chance that I would not like it
Mhm,
enough to finish it, I don't pick it up.
mhm.
That's just how I've always been.
Yeah,
I think I could count on one hand the amount of books I've DNF'd over my entire reading period.
twin.
One of them was actually Dracula. Actually, no, I didn't. I actually finished Dracula, but it took me 3 months to read that fucking book.
Really?
All that old-timey language really gets to me. But yeah, DNF'd Cassandra Clare. I was like 40 pages from the end of the fourth book, and I was like,
Mhm.
I can't. I
Yeah,
cannot.
yeah, yeah.
And I put
Yeah.
it away. So like I have to be really, really struggling to
Yeah,
DNF. Like
yeah.
that's unheard of for me.
Yeah, me too. I probably DNF maybe one every 5 years. Like, it's just also not in my nature. I just won't. I'll struggle through it. Like, I struggled through, like, a few bad books at a company book club. I struggled through, 100 Years of Solitude, which I know people love, but it
Mm,
was too much of a slog for me. But I
fair.
still read it, but I did not finish Glennon Doyle's Untamed, that self-help book.
Oh, I've
I
never
could
actually
not.
read that one.
Yeah, oh, I could not do it because it's like, every chapter was so formulaic and had such, like, a grandiose like life lesson pulled, like that was always such a reach. Like it would always be like little anecdote and then some like grandiose life lesson that made no sense, that she just kind of like pulled out of her ass from the anecdote. And it was like, it's just like so grifter coded, and then it would like rinse and repeat every chapter. I was like, you should spread a concept out between a few chapters, maybe like let it cook. But I was just like, I hate this. And so I stopped midway through. I was like, I feel like I'm being scammed. I feel like I'm at a timeshare presentation. I fucking hate
That's
it.
not a good feeling. That's not the kind of feeling that you wanna have at the end of a book. And like it is kind of that way. Like I've read a few self-help books like here and there, and a lot of it kind of is the same. And even business books sometimes are the same, but and that's just kind of like with the genre
Mhm.
almost. But yeah, that would be a struggle.
Yeah, it's fucking rough. But with that said, we'll get into the first section here, listeners, is the non-spoiler section, and then we'll get into the spoilers after. So, transition music. So jumping in, we're talking about horns now. I wanted to start off by easing people into the book by just reading the back in case you haven't yet and you jumped into this podcast. Um, so Marin Williams is dead, slaughtered under inexplicable circumstances, leaving her beloved boyfriend Ignatius Parrish as the only suspect. On the first anniversary of Marin's murder, Ig spends the night drunk and doing awful things. When he wakes up the next morning, he has a thunderous hangover and horns growing from his temples. Ig possesses a terrible new power to go with his terrible new look, a macabre gift he intends to use to find the monster who killed his lover. Being good and paying for the best got him nowhere, but now it's time for revenge. It's time the devil had his due. I didn't even, I know, very excited. I didn't even read the back before I jumped in. I just trusted
Oh,
you
I'm
and
glad you just went in blind. I love that for
always.
you.
Yeah, always. But
Sometimes that's the best way to read a book is to not know anything about it. So
exactly. Like Janine said in the first section, Joe Hill is actually Stephen King's son. Before we get into like the actual theming of the book, I wanted to touch a little bit on Joe Hill's career and his relationship to his dad's work earlier on. So we're actually going to watch a little clip. I'm going to share my screen. I know, very exciting. We're going to watch a clip from a talk Joe did 8 years ago. Horns was well out by then, and he was just ready to launch Nosferatu, I believe, which you also read, Janine.
yes.
Of
Yeah, I think
course.
I've read every single book from Joe Hill, like at least all of his like main full novels.
Mhm.
I've read them all, and then most of his short story collections. I think the only one that I haven't read is like Full Throttle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. You're such a stan.
My father is an up and coming novelist. Um, he's done a few books of his own in the scary line, and there's some reason to believe if he keeps at it, he'll have a future in the business. Um, um, I try not to get too frustrated with him riding on my coattails, but no, the um, when I started writing, when I was in college, I came to a sudden realization that writing fiction as Joseph King might not be such a good idea. Um, because I was afraid that I might write something not very good, and a publisher would decide to take a chance on it anyway because they saw a chance to make a quick buck in the last name. And I didn't think that was a very good plan because readers are pretty smart. And they might read your first book because you got a famous daddy, but if the book sucks, they'll never read the next one. And I wanted to have a long career. So I dropped the name King and started writing under my middle name, Joe Hill. And I was able to keep the secret for about 10 years. And in that time, I was able to make my mistakes in private, which is where they belong. And I wrote several novels I was never able to sell. One of which I spent 3 years on, and I was convinced, it was a breakthrough piece of work, and then it was turned down everywhere in America and everywhere in England, and for an extra kick in the pants, they turned it down in Canada, um, and it was frustrating at the time. But now I look back with gratitude because I feel that was the right outcome. The book didn't sell for a simple reason: it wasn't good enough. Um, I had 10 years to build up my craft and find my subject and voice, and most importantly, to develop some confidence because I was very insecure. I really needed to know when I sold a story that I was selling it for the right reasons because someone was excited about it, not because they knew something about my family. And in the end, I was able to get some of what I wanted. I did sell a number of short stories without anyone knowing. Um, I sold my first book of stories to a small press in England. It was turned down in America and by the big presses in England, but a small press took a chance on it. And that came out. And then eventually I was able to sell Heart Shaped Box to an American publisher. Before that went to press, my cover came apart, it sort of melted like tissue paper in the rain. But I did have this period of time when I was able to sell some things and to build up my confidence. Um, um, in my first three books, though, I studiously avoided, even though it was scary fiction, I studiously avoided tramping in my dad's territory. Um, uh, I probably, if not for the pen name, I probably never would have written horror anyway because I would have been afraid. I would have thought, well, people would just think I'm, cashing in on his deal. Um, but when I was writing as Joe Hill and no one knew anything about me, I could write whatever I wanted. And it turned out I kind of liked writing scary stuff and supernatural stuff. Even after it came out, I was still very shy about anything that might too overtly connect me to my dad. But when I was working on Nosferatu, I don't know. I just, maybe it's because I'm 40 or something. My dad's my best friend. And, I'm a huge fan of his work. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. And I thought maybe instead of ducking it, I'll take it on. Maybe instead of swerving around it, I'll have some fun with it. And so there are a lot of Stephen King gags in Nosferatu. There's a lot of other gags too. There's a lot of this pop culture riffing on Joss Whedon and Firefly. There's a whole chapter that's one big homage to David Mitchell, who's one of my favorite writers of my generation. There's a lot of game playing in there, but there's a lot of Stephen King stuff.
That's essentially it. Isn't that the sweetest thing you ever done, Scene?
I really love it. That is so so sweet. And I knew when I first read Horns, I didn't know he was Stephen King's son, but I think it came
Mhm.
out or at least I'd found out a few years after that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
And like being able pinpoint references to Stephen King and like even his other, like Joe Hill's other books is really fun. It makes for like a fun little Easter egg hunt when you're reading. I think is
Yeah,
really sweet. So,
exactly.
and like I've seen interviews before where Stephen King has also been like very supportive of his son, and like obviously like they come from a whole family of writers. Like Tabitha King writes, Owen King writes, like they've written books together. Like it's just a family business at this point.
Yeah, it's so sweet. I like talking to anybody about Joe. Like, I'm reading a Joe Hill book, like, oh, he's Stephen King's son. And people go, well, of course he writes. Like, he had it pretty easy. And I'm like, I immediately get so defensive. I'm like, no, no, he used, like, nobody knew who he was the first 10 years.
And I think that's so admirable of him to do
Yes.
that and to like know, to like play that long game and be like, I know I want a long career. I know I love this and I want to do this for a really long time. That's so
Yeah.
admirable to distance yourself like that because there's so many people that wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. And it would have been so easy had he just been Joe
Boom.
King.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that he kind of took the route he did was really cool. I also read up on during this deep dive research. Owen King stayed Owen King, Stephen King's other son, because his first books were comedy. And so he was like, I feel like I can take on the name because I'm writing a funny book and people won't be like, you're just Stephen King part two. And Owen's like, no, I'm separating myself via genre. And I think now he does scary stuff. Like he's collaborated on Sleeping Beauties with Stephen King, but that was well after he was established and we saw that he had some
I
writing
have no
chops.
idea. That's so fun. I love that he wrote comedy. That's so sweet, actually.
So did you find any Stephen King references in Horns when you reread it? I did, and I highlighted one. Did you find any?
Well, I think there were a few mentions of dairy in Horns. I know I just reread Horns, and I swear I have the memory of a goldfish for like fine details, so I probably missed quite a bit. But there were also a few references that I picked up to, and maybe not like overt references, but just like generic themes and like commonalities with both his other books and Stephen King's books. And now because I read 11/22/63 and Horns like back to back, they're blended in my head now for references. So I'll let you name them all because I feel like I'm gonna fuck up there if I talk about it.
The only overt one I could pick up was the scene where a lot of the characters are teenagers and they're like fucking around at the foundry and they blow up that turkey with the little cherry bomb, and Egg says that like the pieces of meat rain down like Carrie, like the high school prom scene at Carrie. I was like, oh, Carrie reference. Your dad. I know him.
I know him personally. He's a deep personal friend.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there's so many cool themes in both of their books that like will reference each other, and I'm pretty sure there's some books that Stephen King has written that now reference Joe Hill, and it's very cool, like the kind of universe that they're building. And there's a lot of references in both of their novels for these like mid-world inscape spaces, like this like world between worlds, and I think that's such a cool concept.
Yeah.
There was one really fun Easter egg that I caught while reading Horns again. And it's a part where Ig and Marion are talking about like what they'd like to name their kids. When they grow up and have kids together. And Ig says that their girl will be called Harper and their boy will be called Charlie. Harper is the main character of The Fireman, which is another Joe Hill novel. And then there's Charlie Manx from Nosferatu.
Oh my god, Janine, you fucking genius. I would have never picked that up. That's amazing.
Yeah, I clocked that immediately. And honestly, I might just, like, Colton was like, oh, I really like the name Harper. Like, as soon as we read The Fireman, which, by the way, that book gave me so much anxiety that I cannot remember my heart pounding any harder. And it wasn't even, like, a scary book because, and honestly, that's what I love about like certain kinds of horror books is it doesn't even have to be like scary. Like,
yes, well, we'll get to that.
Yeah. so many different kinds, and the way Joe Hill writes horror, and even like Stephen King does it as well. They're the only two authors that I know that kind of write like this, is that they're really good at doing this kind of like mix of like grounding something super bizarre with something in like just in a real world scenario. And so it's like the supernatural realism mix. So like The Fireman is about this like apocalyptic like pandemic called Dragon Scale, which after 2020 feels very fucking realistic. And just like the reactions that people have and what they think going forward into their worlds. And just like, it's crazy. And like, even in Strange Weather, he writes all of the short stories are tied to like a certain weather thing. So it like
Oh, that
rains
makes sense.
nails, and it's yeah. He writes A Camera That Steals Memories.
That's so cool.
So it's like all of these, like it's an everyday object, an everyday thing that happens, but then there's something like supernatural about it.
Yeah,
And but
magical
he just
realism, but make it
blends
horror.
it so well that you're like, I don't even ask why when I read the books. I'm not sitting there with the book in my hand being like, but why is this happening? But
Yeah.
why? But why? And I don't know if that's just because I have read so much fantasy that I'm just like,
Mhm.
give me that spoon, I'll eat whatever you feed me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's where that comes from.
Mhm.
But like, I'm really good at suspending the disbelief and
Mhm.
just going with the flow. Like, I'm definitely
Yes.
that kind of reader. I don't overthink it. I don't over question it. Just give me the world and I'll take it in.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's what I really love about his books.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to kind of just like go for the ride and let them take you, or else what's the point? Like if you're not open to that, go read a fucking nonfiction.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
if you're
I'm
gonna
not
like
reading this
dissect
book
everything.
to be like, oh, is this grounded enough in reality? No, that's not why I'm reading it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's a great segue, that genre blending, because in that same talk from the clip we just watched, Joe Hill, like somebody asks Joe Hill why on Twitter he called Horns kind of his like acoustic or unplugged novel compared to some of his other work, which I thought was really interesting. And Joe Hill said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, I have a rep for being a horror novelist mostly, which doesn't bother me, but Horns isn't really a horror novel. It's introspective. It's really a tragic love story. It's about broken trust. It tries to imagine what would it be like if you knew the worst things people thought about you. Could you still love them? It's also hard to sell a horror novel built around a demon who's also the hero. And I was like, that's very well put. So true. When you
Yeah.
were like, when I was like, let's do something Halloween-ish, and you picked this, and you were like, "Oh, but it's not really scary." And I was like, "The fuck are you talking about? This man is the devil." And now I totally understand what you were talking about.
Yeah, because I
Um,
can't like expound on that without going past the non-spoiler section, but it is it's such an interesting book, and there's so many different ways that you can be scared as a human, that like it's not all about like ghosts and poltergeists and like hauntings and that kind of stuff, which I love reading. Like that shit actually scares me a lot. Like watching the Conjuring movies really fucks me up.
yeah,
But like it can be these like really awful things that happen in your life that you
yeah,
think, oh, that would never happen to me, but then it does.
yeah.
And that can be horrific and scary and terrifying and awful to go through. So like
Mm,
it doesn't have to be like supernaturally scary all the time. There can
no,
be elements of it all.
exactly. And before I forget, if anybody watching or listening is interested, read the trigger warnings while we're talking about scary things, because some of these scary elements in the book are very real things that people can be very much triggered by. So look those up before you read, because holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
um so right when Ig wakes up, this isn't a spoiler, but in the beginning of the book we discover, of course, that his horns cause people to confess their darkest secrets and or their worst thoughts about him. What were some of your favorite like memorable confessions in the beginning when he's figuring this out?
After rereading this, like it's been, oh my God, probably like 10 years since I initially read it. So
Hmm.
I was rereading it last week. And within like 22 pages, I think I texted you at the 22 page mark. And I was like, just so you know,
Yes.
it gets really dark really quick. And I had to give you like a bit of a trigger warning. So I was like,
Yeah.
I forgot how dark this gets
Yeah.
right off the bat. And I'm sitting across from Colton on the couch being like, holy shit, he actually, where does this come from? And so there's this scene where Ig is going to the doctor, obviously, because he's like, what the fuck are these horns coming out of my head? And there's this child just like losing it in the waiting room of this doctor's office. And the receptionist is like, says something to the effect of like, man, I'd really love to tell that bitch to shut her fucking kid up. Like, and just like the things that we think of, because like how many times, I can't even tell you how many times I've been on an airplane and there's been a kid behind me screaming. And like, while I am conscious of having like empathy for the parents, I mean, like they obviously don't want this. They can't really control this in certain aspects. Your first initial thought is like, dear God, my eardrum is about to burst. Can you shut the fuck up?
Yeah, real.
It's such a natural reaction to have. And that's when Ig realizes that he can not only just like hear these like supposedly internal thoughts people are having, but also influence them.
Yeah.
And be like, sure, why not? Go tell that
Tell
bitch
him.
what you think. Like, and it wasn't even that. It was the little kid after being like, after her mom is like storming out and being like, I want to burn my mom alive with matches. I want to
Yep.
light her on fire. Like that was like, and it
Yeah.
just like goes to show like how much kids like internalize things too, and
Mhm.
like how much you actually are like learning at such a young age to like have those thoughts. That's
Mhm.
really dark.
Yeah, no, it is. That's a really good one. I forgot that the
Yeah.
kid said that after. That's so fucking
What was
creepy.
yours?
Mine was the nun when he goes to the church to be like, "Father, what the fuck?" basically, and like they're like lifting weights in the church basement, and like I
So
didn't care much about yeah, just normal Jesus
weird.
things. But I didn't care much about what the priest said, but the nun who was basically like she was made fun of all her life for also like being a lesbian allegedly, but she had like had given like sacrificed everything for God or whatever. And then she was kind of confessing like, man, I'm 60 years old and I wasted my life just serving God and doing nothing. I like sometimes I consider running away from it all and just like starting afresh and like getting a life of my own. And Ig is
Yeah.
like, "What's stopping you?" And she's like,
Oh,
"Well, God." And he's like, "Well, what has he ever done for you?" And she's like, "Ooh, facts," basically.
yeah.
And
I
she
think he's
goes
like,
off.
how am I gonna leave? And it's like, well, you've already taken money from the church. Why not just steal the car too?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I am obsessed with that because there are so many people who like not you can tell, but I assume feel trapped from religion, and you hear stories about people who like feel kind of like they have no choice, whether it be religion or cult or family or culture. And so to
Yeah.
see like kind of relieve that woman of where she felt stuck in life, I was like, let's fucking go. And that's
Yeah.
also kind of where as a reader you understood that yeah, he's the devil, but like still gonna root for this man. It was a very save the cat kind of
Yeah.
moment,
And
right?
also keep in mind that this is also like either just before or just after it also releases the brakes on his grandmother's wheelchair and she
Oh
rolls
yeah.
down the hill and crashes into a fence and ends up in the hospital
Yeah.
because she told him that she actually hates him and
Yeah.
doesn't like it when he takes her for walks, like,
Mhm.
and doesn't want to be around him and is ashamed of him. And because the whole town thinks that he is a murderer, that he
Mhm.
killed the woman he loves, and everyone, like the court of public opinion, everyone's already decided he's guilty.
Mhm.
Um, so it's
Yeah.
all of these nasty things that people are saying about him that aren't true
Yeah.
because he didn't do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. Which isn't
yeah,
really a spoiler, like, we know that pretty right off the bat that
no,
he didn't do
that's
it.
like, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, agree. Oh, yeah, when he, like, pushes his grandma down the hill, essentially in her wheelchair, I was like, "Did
Yeah.
she fucking
That
die?
was,
Did she die?" 'Cause, like, like, dipping my toe into Joe Hill, I haven't in a while since Nosferatu, and so I was like, is Joe Hill the kind of writer who would, like, have this man kill this grandma this early in? So and then it was revealed that she was just very much in the hospital.
yeah, she's okay. She didn't
Yeah.
die.
But throughout the book, Ig starts to become more devilish in appearance, including his skin turning red, like in the back half of the book. Because of
Mhm.
his powers, people aren't really like put off by it. But what did you think about Ig's transformation, like
I
physically
actually
in
loved
the book?
it. So like when you were like, "Oh, what was your like favorite scene from the book?"
Hmm.
I wasn't sure if this would fall under like the not spoilery category, but that actually is one of my favorite scenes. Is like
Hmm.
he ends up like emerging from the lake.
Yes.
And
Oh, that's
he
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of this thing like fire can heal him
Hmm.
in the state that he's in. And
Yeah.
so and once he is caught on fire and successfully reemerged, he's
Yeah.
like described as this like, I should have quoted the way he's described, but it's almost like that, like when your skin burns, but it's healing at the same time,
Hmm.
that, like, ruddy red color. Like that's always what I kind of envision, just like all over the body.
Yeah.
And I just think it's like a really, I don't know, just like a really powerful scene to me. And there's like a certain thing, like as he's burning, that he's like, oh, this is what baptism is supposed to feel like, which is just
Yeah.
like, I get like goosebumps over that quote. Like it's just, it's such an interesting thing to think about, like that you could find that kind of release in something that's supposed to be the exact opposite of what you were taught in church. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. No, I agree. That is such a powerful scene. That's a good pick. I think too with the transformation, like it would be easy for it to feel kind of like cheesy. And now his horns are extra pointy and he's got his pitchfork and he's like for sure the devil. Like there's a way that he could have made it really cheesy. But there's
Yeah.
a part at the end in the final scene, which I won't spoil what happens, but he's like wearing a blue like a little blue skirt for like
Yep.
the back half of the book basically, and he it gets burned up and there's a part where he's like, "Oh, I was going to wear it to the dance."
Yeah.
And I'm like the comedic relief kind of about his like physical appearance and like brings you back to the reality of like how silly he looks during that final heavy scene. I was like,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. That's a really funny touch on Joe Hill's part. So,
Absolutely. And like so we actually just rewatched the movie because if you didn't know there is a movie based off
mhm.
of this novel. And honestly, side tangent here,
Yeah.
that is one of my all-time favorite movie tie-in covers. They did it right. It is
They
a gorgeous movie tie-in
yeah,
cover.
it eats. It's so good.
It's
I
like
almost got that one.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It is like I want to have both. Like I've never been like, oh, I want that movie tie-in cover. No, never. But anyway, so yeah, it stars Daniel Radcliffe, and as we find out, Sabrina Carpenter. I totally forgot who was in the movie. I had like a little freak out moment on the couch.
Oh.
But they definitely play up like the comedy aspect a little bit more in the
Yeah.
movie.
Okay.
And his transformation is definitely more cheesy in the movie.
Mm.
Because they don't go for like that ridiculous, like rough, burnt kind of look in like the blue dress. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
something they go with, but his like horns get like really badass.
Mm.
It's more of like a crusty like lava rock kind of vibe
Oh.
in the
Oh,
movie, which is
interesting.
kind of cool. It's a little cheesy, but it's cool. Like
Yeah.
I still really enjoy the movie. Like two
Mhm.
things can be true. And there was actually a quote that I found from Joe Hill talking about the adaptation
Mm.
or adaptations in general, like his generic outlook. And he says, but at the end of the day, I've done my version and the movie has to be something different. Films fail either when they treat the source material as if it doesn't matter or when they become too reverential to the source material. You want to find a path down the middle where a film can breathe and be its own deal. And I think that's such a like healthy aspect to have for all adaptations in
Yeah.
general is like you can appreciate both for different reasons.
Mhm.
So I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed seeing like what they chose to do in the movie versus what the book was. And I still think
Oh,
the book is better and the book ends better, but
yeah.
teach their
Oh.
own.
Oh, that's so sick. I really need to watch the movie now. I'm not normally a movie watcher, but, yeah, for research purposes, oh, fuck, I should have. That's
And it's
so
like Daniel Radcliffe, like 2 years after the last Harry Potter movie, so he's
yeah.
like a complete like 180
Mhm.
from those movies. So it's really cool to see him in that kind of role.
Yeah, weird to hear I watched a few clips, I watched, like, the trailer and stuff. Weird to hear him in an American accent, but I was
Right?
like, "Okay, I'll get used to it."
Yeah,
This
that's
is so
really
funny.
weird.
So talking about like the horror, non-horror elements, what were the pieces, even though it's not like a poltergeisty vibe, what were some of the horror elements that like really got you good? Like really scared you?
Oh, yeah, it's not really like the stereotypical horror bit that got
Mhm,
me. Like, it's not like him waking up with horns. It's
mhm.
not like there's a lot of snakes that follow him throughout the movie or throughout the book. I have
Yeah,
the movie on my mind now because the snakes were gross in the movie.
yeah,
Um,
that's one of mine for
yeah,
sure, the
he's
snakes.
like very friendly with the snakes.
Yeah.
But it's actually just the more like human monster
Mhm,
aspect of it. And I don't mean that in the way that Ig transforms. I
mhm.
mean that in the way that people act and make decisions in their own lives and
Yeah.
how horrible people can be. Like that is what scares me the most.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
feel like it's more of like a back half spoilery conversation.
Yes, yeah,
So
that's fair.
yeah, but that's
M
all I'll say.
Yeah, yeah. Mine are for sure the snakes, and like obviously we know that Marin's dead, and we do get to see hear about the scene where she dies, from like different POVs, and like just the doom before it happened just really filled me with like dread. I wouldn't say I was scared, but I was just so like. I guess I would say I was scared, but it was just like
Yeah.
such dread and doom. My chest was heavy, and I was like, "Oh God, no!" But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how I felt too.
Right. But it's,
Yeah,
so scary in, like, a non-conventional scary way because it is so real because these things, like, happen to people.
they do. It's
Um,
true.
I was gonna ask you to end this section off just about like what you thought about Terry's relationship with Ig, but wanted to broaden the question to like who are just your favorite side characters in general.
Man.
I can go first if you want. It's up to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll ruminate
I
on it.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
I would say Terry for sure for me.
A lot of them are kind of shitty in their own way. So I'm like,
Yes. Like
you know.
Terry had his like pussy moments, but at the end I was like, okay, like you learn a little bit more about their motivation for some of these things. And I was like, as far as brothers go, like he had a lot of great intentions. And then Glenna, I felt bad about Glenna. She like was really insecure and like, you know, very much needed reassurance in her relationships with people. And you know, I feel like everybody's had kind of moments like that. And she's just this like sweet, thick girl who has good intentions. And but people are like, you're kind of a fat slut. Like, be nice to Glenna.
Everybody says that to her, like to her face, and it's just like a little disheartening. Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
do. I have a sweet spot for Glenna. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she comes back at the end of the book, and I'm glad.
Yes.
Yeah,
Any other
yeah.
side characters for you?
I mean, I don't think so. Like from what you see about Marin through like flashbacks and stuff is very sweet. And just like learning more about like her and Ig's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And also like how badass is the name Ig? Like Ignatius. It's like it's badass and obnoxious all at once, and I kind of love it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did really feel for Terry and all of his like I don't know, you want to do what's best for you and what's best for your family, and it's hard to be the person that's caught in the middle like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. That's all we could try to muster about non-spoilers without wrecking it for people. So if you feel like, you know, I'm not going to read this book, I'd still like to listen to them yap, join us in the spoiler section. Or if you've read it, obviously, keep listening. And now we'll get into the juicy stuff. Okay, so the first things first, I wanted to revisit. We can go a little bit deeper into our favorite scenes here. Um, we can talk about the burning of your scene, but one of my favorites, like I have a few, the scene where Lee murders Marin is awful, but it's like it sticks with you.
Yeah.
But also the one where we read Marin's letter, like towards the end, and it's like that is like really well done.
Yeah.
This like this genre bending concept of like it's love, it's tragedy, it's relationships, it's horror, it's fear, all in one, and that really like tied that notion together for me. I'll read little parts, but in the letter, Marin says, talking about the future that she won't have with Egg because she's diagnosed with terminal breast cancer. She says, and you will have some stout and kindly mother wife to give you children, and you'll be a wonderful, happy, energetic father. You'll see all of the world, every corner of it, and you will see pain and you will ease some of it. You'll have grandchildren and great grandchildren. You will teach. You will go for long walks in the woods. On one of these walks, when you are very old, you will find yourself at a tree with a house in its branches. I'll be waiting for you there. I'll be waiting by candlelight in the tree of the house of the mind. So, or in the yeah,
Like
Treehouse of the Mind.
it's such a powerful scene. Like, and it's she's not even present because she's dead, and it's still so impactful that
Yeah,
way. Like, just through
yeah,
like a letter, and everything kind of like clicks together at that point, and you realize that like the reason she broke up with Egg that night is because she realizes that she's going to die, and she's not
mhm,
going to have those kids with him. She's not going to have that life that they wanted together.
yeah.
So sad.
For audio listeners only, Janine's practically crying.
Yeah, I'm tearing up. It hasn't like leaked out yet. It's okay.
And the fact that we'll get into this point too, but the fact that Ig is decoding this letter from Morse code
Yeah.
to like slowly reveal what she's saying, that must have been like it didn't happen because it's fiction, but like hypothetically that would have been painstaking.
Oh my
Um, but yeah, no, terrible. But so what happened when he burned up?
God. So at that point, you have just found out that it was Lee, his childhood best friend, that has murdered Marin.
Mhm,
He raped her and then killed her, bludgeoned
mhm,
her with a rock. Um, and Egg realizes that the reason Lee cannot be influenced by his horns is because he actually took the cross from Marin, what I assume to be Marin's body.
Yeah.
And is wearing it. And that is why the horns aren't influencing him that way. And as soon as Ig takes the cross off, it comes forth that like that's how you find out what exactly happened to Marin from like Lee's perspective, which is already horrifying. But they obviously get into like a fight, a physical fight, and Ig gets set fire to in his car.
Yeah.
And can you just like take for a 1 second and imagine what that would feel like? That is horrific.
Yeah,
to burn essentially almost to death in your vehicle. Like, awful. So he ends up driving it into the water, and as it is sinking, that is when you realize like, oh, he can actually heal himself from like being on fire, which is really awesome. Cool superpower, would love to have it.
Yeah, pretty sick. And then at that moment I forgot, because he reveals earlier when he burns himself with the matches and then he heals himself with, like, through his fingers, like, really easily. He's like, oh, my hands don't hurt. And so when he was on fire in the car and it was careening down into the river, I was like, oh, let's go. He's got that power.
He's gonna come back. So yeah, and then of course Lee leaves thinking, oh, I killed him. He's fine. He's dead. The fall of all Scooby-Doo villains, you know. Ig reemerges from the water, and he's like, I almost imagine it like a crust like over him, like it's that like shiny, gross, like red skin.
Yeah.
But it's head to toe. It's all over his body.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's such a like visual scene for me in my head that I'm like, oh, this is badass. And like, yeah. I wish the movie had almost done that scene better. That was my only like big complaint about the movie.
Oh, really?
That is my favorite scene.
Okay, fair. That's a good segue. I was also going to ask you about the power of Marin's crucifix. So her necklace she wears, like they meet Ig and Marin in church. And there's like a little bit of back and forth about the necklace and like what it kind of means for their relationship before. But Lee ends up stealing Marin's necklace, like when he like rapes and kills her, and so he's wearing it when he's first confronted by Ig in the beginning of the book, and you realize that Ig's power to kind of influence these confessions from people doesn't work on him. Did you clock that it was because he was wearing the necklace, or did you big brain that, Janine? Because I did not. I was like, why aren't his powers working?
Actually mentioned until like that confrontation scene. Because you actually find out pretty early on in the book that Lee is the one that killed Marin, because Terry reveals it to Ig, the power of the horns. Yeah. And Ig is kind of like going after Lee and trying to get him to confess, and realizing through that experience that the horns aren't working, and he's not really sure why. And he's like, well, it can't really be like a cross or something, because like I went into church and I wasn't burned alive, and like they were still talking to me while we were in the church and all that. So like you don't really clock it right away. And like Lee is such a fucking creepy weirdo, like right from the start. And like I never really clocked it on my first read through, but going back and rereading it recently, I'm like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, he's a fucking psycho.
Yeah, like the references of like
dumb kid doing dumb kid shit.
Yeah. Like, the like I only listen to music I can like kill people to, and like the references to like shooting and murdering people when they're teenagers, and Ig is like, huh, that's weird.
Yeah. And like the fact that he trades Marin's cross, because Ig finds it, but Lee is the one that fixes it, because Ig doesn't know how to fix it. And so he's like, well, maybe I'll give it back to her and I can go meet her, because it's like brought up right from the start that Lee is also very interested in Marin. And so Lee actually trades it for a cherry bomb. So like the fact that Lee is like, oh yeah, I'll give up this really pure good thing for this fucking method of destruction.
True.
That ends up taking out, like almost blinding him in one eye.
Like, yeah.
No metaphor than that.
Yeah. That's funny. I thought for sure, I was like, when we find out later that the crucifix kind of repels that power when people wear it, I was like, oh, I bet Janine clocked that immediately. But you were also bamboozled. Oh, I feel smarter.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. Talking about revealing that Lee is the killer, like on page 55 or whatever. Actually, in the talk we watched earlier, somebody asked, like, why did you reveal the killer so early? Which I also wanted to talk about. And Joe Hill says, I'm not really interested in whodunits. And to be frank, I don't think I could fool anybody anyway. But I would rather explore the how dunnits and the why dunnits and what happens next. Thoughts? Did that like piss you off to know so early, or does that
No.
justification make sense?
No, because I really like the way he described that. Is like I'd rather know what led up to that rather than
Hmm.
like, oh, because it's almost pretty clear like who else could have killed Marin. Like
Yeah.
unless it really is like this big murder mystery and there's some random player in the game, like it's very obvious that Lee did it.
Yeah, true.
So it's like why have an entire book all about that if you know that's the conclusion that you're going to make from that? Like I'd
Mhm.
rather know the middle, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
I'm
I'm
very
with
much
you.
with that same mind too. I actually it was like a shock and you're like, "Oh my god, where's this gonna go? Like where
Mhm.
is the book gonna go from here? What else could you do? There's still like 3/4 of the book left."
Yeah.
So, but I
Yeah.
really like that.
I agree. I thought it was refreshing. Not that I've read a ton of like horror before, mystery before. Like I'm getting into both genres later in life. But the fact that, yeah, it was a shock in the beginning, it keeps you hooked, keeps you like wanting to read. And it also kind of gives you permission to not have to like think so hard and just enjoy the ride. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like decode shit. I'm just like learning as Ig does. So that was kind of nice for me. I was like, thanks, Joe Hill.
And I feel like the way that you can like root for Egg because he does kind of start off like he's a very morally gray character. He literally
Yeah.
punts his grandmother down the hill at the
Yeah,
beginning of
true.
the book. Like he's not an angel, obviously.
Hmm.
Like he's yeah. So it's a very interesting way of him to like process just his emotions regarding the whole thing.
Hmm.
Because it's been a year since Marin's death, and like
Yeah.
people still think he did it. So he's living with like the guilt of people thinking he did it, but also the guilt of like if I had not been so angry that I left her at the diner that night, like
Hmm.
after Marin broke it off, then she would not be dead. Like and
Yeah.
to live with that guilt of like
Hmm.
what if I had done this instead of this?
Yeah.
That's so hard and just but being able to like see his process of like how he's going to expose Lee to
Hmm.
everybody else, how he can prove his innocence and like bring justice for Marin in that way.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, reading it because it's so fast-paced, and I think, like, as a writer, one of the first lessons you learn is show, don't tell, but I feel like the book does a lot of telling in a way that I'm down with.
That's his
Like,
power.
yeah, literally,
That's what I
literally.
mean. It doesn't. You don't have to think about the reason why too hard. It just goes
Mhm.
in,
Yeah,
and it's just
exactly, which is
like it's a
yes.
story.
Yeah, which is nice, like, not everything has to be some, like, murky gray mystery, like, sometimes there's a way to tell, but, like, still keep the intrigue with it, and, but I think that's easier, said than done, like, I'm sure it took a lot of skill for
Yeah,
Joe to be able to do that. Um,
exactly. Bless that
but
man.
yeah, getting into, the use of Morse code, I thought was super interesting. So Marin and Egg meet in the church, like, they're kind of across pews from each other, and Marin, like, reflects the sunlight from her crucifix into Egg's eye, like, to kind of fuck with him, but she's also, like, sending a Morse code message that, says "us," which is, like, so sweet, and for, like, a 16-year-old, also, that's love bombing, TBH, Marin, but it's also so sweet. And
But also these two children know Morse code like at 16. Like,
fully yes. And then like later on in the book, Ig sees these like lines and dots, and Marin, or no, it wasn't Ig. Was it Ig or Lee?
it was
No,
Lee.
who's
Lee
it was
sees it
Lee.
when he goes to visit Marin.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Lee sees like the lines and dots, and he's like asking Marin's roommate at the time, or no, asking Marin what that was about. And Marin says that she and her roommate play some sort of like puzzle word game with lines and dots, and whoever loses has to do laundry.
Yeah.
And when Lee asks the roommate about it, the roommate is like, "We do? What?" And it turns out that that must have been like Ig's letter in Morse code, right?
Like
I
he was
thought
like
that
in the process of writing it at that time.
yeah, and I thought it was a really interesting way to kind of make their relationship feel intimate and real for the reader. Um, but I wasn't 100% sure that writing in Morse code for the letter at the end was necessary. How do you feel about the Morse code and like what like that letter at the end
I think
being
it's very sweet. I think it's definitely like a more sentimental aspect. And
true.
I'm not an expert on Morse code. But the nice thing about the hardcover is that's actually the inner lining of the pages.
That's
So the
so
inner cover is
sweet.
Morse code. And that Suntop edition that I sent you like a few
Yes.
days ago when we were talking
Mhm.
about it, it comes with a code or like a book, like a booklet for deciphering
Oh.
Morse code as
Oh,
well. So
no
it's
way.
a really fun like touch point. But I think it's just a very sweet thing. Like obviously it's something she didn't tell anyone. Like she
Yeah.
obviously only wanted Ig to know, and the only way that she would make sure that Ig was the only one to know would be if she wrote it that way.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Like, I was, like, thinking, like, you ever heard of a private letter? But I guess, like, the Morse code would have added, like, a layer of security to it, which is sweet. That's crazy. No, I thought it was super sweet too. Oh my god, okay, the Treehouse of the Mind. Also some crazy tense scenes. So, how would you describe the Treehouse of the Mind, Janine?
I really like the term that Joe Hill actually uses in Nosferatu. I believe he uses the term inscape when he's talking about like
Oh,
the alternate world.
yeah, okay.
Um, I think Stephen King calls it midworld in his like
Mhm.
Dark Tower series. I haven't read the Dark Tower series. Don't come at me for that. But not yet anyway. But I think it's just a really interesting like world between worlds. Like
Mhm,
it exists sometimes under
mhm.
certain circumstances and not others. And maybe some people might think that's like a really cheap plot device or something, but
Yeah.
I find it really fascinating, and it can just be like I think Marin describes it as like they almost thought it was a hallucination between the two of
Mhm.
them, but then like if two of them are experiencing it, like isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah.
So, and it's there one day and then it's not until it is again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of where they meet in I wouldn't say the afterlife, but they meet in the inscape, right? Like, at the end of the book. Spoil well, this is the spoiler section for a reason, but when they're first in it, when they first discover it and they, like, go up there to fuck or whatever, there's,
Yeah.
like, all those yeah, really romantic. There's all these, like, religious figurines and these candles, and there's even, like, Jewish references too, but there's also that, like, little devilish figurine that he sees in there. I'm like, "That's so scary." Like, low key,
Can you imagine finding that out in the woods somewhere and being like,
horrifying.
yeah, here's a great place to fuck? Like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
Why would you?
when
Question
you're
one.
teenagers and you live at home, you got nowhere to fuck.
Right? Yeah, exactly. You gotta take what you get.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
Uh,
would actually be really creepy to stumble
yeah.
upon.
And it
But
like, in the whole time you're learning the BTS about Marin and Ig's relationship, and you're like, "Oh god, I wish there was a way to be like, for them to be together," but you know that she was murdered. But so, like, having that available to them at the end to kind of, like, burn together in the Treehouse of the Mind is, like, that's so beautiful. But
it's
I
such a
also
sweet, like bittersweet, sad
Mhm.
ending. But I like
Yes.
it.
Yeah, me too. Because I, like in Marin's letter, like, I would have also liked for Lee to have his career. Like, I was kind of excited about, like, Lee's or not Lee, or Ig, I meant, I was kind of excited about Ig's, career prospects, and I was like, "Yeah, go to England."
Yeah, you do that, man. Yeah, and you're like you're rooting for him and like yeah, and like oh, just it sucks. It's such a special plot device when and it sucks when you know that that's something that isn't going to happen.
Mhm,
And but it's there and it's possible for them in that one little moment. It's
mhm.
just so sad.
Yeah, I agree. I also wanted to touch on the scene. So there's like a big section of the book where we kind of get the background into like Lee's life and his villain origin story, so to speak. Rolls her eyes. But there's a part where like growing up in on this like farm among the corn, right? Like they're in the
Yeah.
cornfield, and there's like a black cat that leads him onto this like fence line, and he eventually like he falls like Lee falls off this fence line, and he like impales his head a little bit on the tip of a pitchfork on the spines. What are the fucking these
Like
called?
the tines of a
The
pitchfork.
tines. That's what I meant. The tines.
Yeah. Also,
Um,
it's described as like rusty, and I'm like, dude, did you even go get a tetanus shot after?
for real. That would have been my villain origin
You
story
could
too.
have just died right then.
Hmm. But like what like for a lot of readers, I was doing some Reddit research too. That was very much like a deeper scene than people thought it to be. Like I reading it was just like, oh, he hurt himself and he kind of started being like when he killed the cat, I was like, that's classic murderer shit. Is like
Yeah.
killing animals when you're a kid. That's like such a surefire sign of a murderer. But
Mhm.
did you think of that scene as anything deeper than that or
Not really,
Mhm.
no. Like, I do listen to a lot of, like, true crime podcasts and stuff.
Mhm.
There's a lot of studies that show, like, brain injury can really
Mhm.
mess with a person as well, and, like, I know you dropped on your head a lot as a kid, like, you could grow up to be a serial killer, like, the brain impacts a lot. So, like, is it the injury that caused it? Has he always been, like, predisposed
Yeah.
to doing that? Because correct me if I'm wrong, he, like, blacks out and
Mhm.
has that, like, wild vision of, like, hanging the moon in the sky,
Yes.
and then he wakes up and the cat is dead.
Yes. Yeah.
So, like, yes, he killed it, like, it's very obvious,
Yeah.
but, like, he was not fully conscious when he
Yeah.
did it.
In a lucid state or whatever, I guess.
Yeah. So
But
it's just, like, was it because of the fall
yeah.
onto the book? Like,
Yeah. That's kinda what I was thinking, but, an opinion that got a lot of upvotes on Reddit.
I love a good
Some
upvote.
Yeah, somebody asks, "I'm really not understanding the fixing the moon scene. Feels like something I should have easily gotten." And the top response said, "He fell off the fence and impaled his head on a pitchfork, the implication being that the prong entered his skull and caused brain damage, effectively making him sociopathic because it killed his sense of empathy and arguably his humanity. Afterwards, he couldn't even stand music." Which is fair, but I think is a bit of a stretch because if you basically got like a de-empathy lobotomy and all you did then he was like, "There was a little bit of blood on my pillow in the morning." Like, he would have had to been rushed to the hospital, no?
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Like, yeah. It would have
but
had to be, like, a lot more of a severe injury,
yeah,
but it also didn't sound like his parents were that attentive either,
true.
so
That's true. I just felt like some of that might have been a little bit of a stretch. Like, I do think maybe kind of having that lucid, like, hanging the moon scene and killing the cat maybe kind of spurred some evilness, but I don't think he was, like, physically altered, empathy, like, lobotomy-wise.
yeah, and that's such a good case to, like, nature versus nurture, like, are you born
Yes.
that way? Or,
Yeah.
like, does something make you that way?
Yeah. True.
So,
And I think he could stand music. Like, he likes some of the,
I like the music that he could kill people to.
exactly, and
Weirdo.
yeah, some of them were Bob he hated the Beatles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know
But
anyone that hates the Beatles.
yeah, yeah, that's actually a true mark of a villain.
Yeah, it's a red flag right there.
And also in kind of Lee's BTS scenes, we get a lot about, like his POV of Marin supposedly leading him on, um, and like saying things like, it's just me and you, and like little things that like you would say to a friend or do for a friend that he was just taking blowing way out of proportion. Did you like there were moments where I was like, is Marin being like this? Because like Lee was painting such a convincing picture of like these quote unquote clues. But as soon as she was about to die, I was like, no, there's no way she wanted to fuck him.
No.
Were you slightly bamboozled or the whole time were you like, this is a reach, Lee?
No, I fully thought Lee was crazy. His view of their relationship was so warped, and
Hmm.
I have no idea at what point that would have happened because they all grew up together.
Yeah.
So like there was that initial bit of like, oh, I am also attracted to this girl that you also like.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna let you have her, quote unquote, like I'll give the necklace back and like you can I'm happy for you, like whatever. And you kind of don't really get a lot of those like in between years of
Yeah.
like, oh no, Marin and Ig are definitely a couple. They are
Hmm.
together. They have always been together and always want to be together.
Hmm.
They are talking about kids and marriage. How, as like a sane person, being Lee, do you not be like, oh, there's no way this girl is gonna send me clues like that?
Hmm.
Like that is my best friend's girl. Like, how do you not separate that? Like, is that
Hmm.
something more recent that he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, all of these clues, like Egg's going away. Now's my chance," and he
Hmm.
just like, mental illness. Like
Hmm.
that's how he took it.
Yeah, yeah. It's wild. Yeah, I like there was a few times, but it was just because I didn't really know Joe Hill as a writer, where I was like, Is Lee correct? Like, is this gonna get like twisted like that way?" But thank God.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Oh
And
my.
like going back to like the scenes that I thought were the most scary, it was
Hmm.
that it was like his deep dive into Lee's perspective is how
Hmm.
he was seeing things was the most horrible to me. Is
Yeah.
like seeing him reason it that way and be like,
Hmm.
oh no, this girl for sure likes me. She's for sure sending me these clues. She for sure wants me to fuck her in the woods in the rain. Like what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
After breaking up with her longtime boyfriend of like
Yeah.
her entire life.
Oh.
Like how do you not read those clues
I think
properly?
it's yeah, exactly. I think it's especially frightening as a woman because it's like we've all had that experience of rejecting a man and being scared about it because you don't
Yeah.
know. Like they've even if they've kind of sent you little signs here and there of them being possessive or of them being like a little too attached to you. So if you have to go break somebody's heart or let somebody down, you're like, "Oh my God, what if this turns into rage?"
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Because it really could be like the flip of the switch like that.
yeah,
It's
that happens.
scary. It's scary
Yeah.
being a woman.
Yeah, I know people are
And
like,
it's really unfortunate that that's what you think your brain goes to, but
yeah.
that was a really accurate representation of like that side of that situation.
Yeah, exactly. Like when a girl gets turned down, she's like sad for a couple weeks, and when a guy gets turned down, like he kills women. Like that's like
Oh my God, like
the
it's
worst of the worst. Yeah.
yeah. So like that to me is the most horrifying part of the book. Like that's the most scary because
Yeah.
it could so easily happen.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. So
and has
yeah,
happened, will happen, and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
really
Like
sad.
you said, it's the real stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and also speaking of things that you may or may not have been bamboozled by, when Marin goes to break up with Ig in the bar or the pub, were you suspicious about her reasoning at all, or were you like that makes sense?
No, I think it's natural to be a little suspicious about it.
Oh, really? I
When you
was
don't
like,
really
fair.
it wasn't so much as like oh, I'm leaving you for somebody else. It
Right.
never really had that kind of feel to
Mhm.
me. It was just like obviously something is happening with her and like maybe she because like during the diner I think she was saying like oh like I don't want you to feel like tied to me for the rest
Yeah.
of your life like I'm all you've known like
Mhm.
we need to like expand our horizons and I think that's a really normal conversation for people to have like
Yeah.
especially if it was like literally leaving the country for work like
Mhm.
it's just being realistic
Yeah, agree.
so I like yeah but it's still sad.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I wasn't suspicious about it at all. I was like, I think that
No.
makes sense for their age and her maturity. And she was also like, he was like, we have our like kids' names planned out for Christ's sake. And she's like, well, I don't even know if I want to have kids. And I think which is like a very fair point of your life for her to like reconsider those things.
Mhm.
And so when it came out that she indeed had breast cancer, which is something that took her older sister, I was totally blindsided. I was like, "What the fuck?" So, it's
I
funny.
didn't think it'd be anything like that
No.
and just like the fact that she was so set as to like my sister turned absolutely awful when she was
Yes.
diagnosed with breast cancer and like she was so mean to everyone around her
No.
and I don't want that for me and I don't
Mhm.
want to have you experience it because I know you would stay with me and
Mhm.
like be that supportive partner like that was the crushing thing is like knowing that they're meant to be together they're so good together and they're so supportive of each other in that way that like
Yeah.
without hesitation would have done that for her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
yeah,
she knew it. Yeah.
yeah,
Awful.
yeah.
But yeah, no, totally blindsided. It's crazy, and, yeah, I think one of the last questions I have here, the ending scene where fucking Eric Hannity and Lee die, and I thought for sure Terry was gonna die, and I was pissed. I was so mad. I was like, "Terry can't die like this. How dare you,
You
Joe
can't
Hill?"
do it like that.
Yeah, and the
Uh,
scene where, like, 'cause I thought Ig's plan was pretty foolproof, like, that, like, one venomous snake was gonna bite the fuck out of Lee, like, but,
like as a backup plan.
yes.
Like he even had a backup plan in place that like if this goes awry, I'm positioning this snake here
Yeah,
where he will find it and I'm luring him in with a phone that he will
yeah,
take to hide the evidence.
mhm.
And that was when the snake will bite him.
Yeah, but I wish
So
that it could have been like, specifically, his name is Lee. This is what he looks like.
I know.
But he was
Oh my God.
because the snake ends up biting the fuck out of Terry and, like, learning about how venomous it was. I was like, bro's a goner.
I know. And like even rereading it, like I had kind of forgotten a little bit over the years, like how it ended. And then I was like, oh my God, Terry's gonna die. And I got upset all over again. And I'm like, I know how this ends. It's fine. Like,
Yeah.
but I had forgotten for a second. And I was like, yeah, it was kind of nice having it be that long that I had kind of forgotten. And it was like reading it again.
Yeah. That's so fun. And the
But
scene where, like, Eric Hannity goes in to scope things out first, and, like, the snakes that Ig controlled kind of fill up that jacket, and, like, the jacket is, like, sitting up on its own, like,
yeah,
just structured by snake.
so
I'm like,
creepy.
that's horrifying. I hate snakes. They are the
Yeah.
worst. Yeah, that was,
That
like,
was
probably
I could have seen that, like, done so well in a movie as well, like, that is
yeah.
something that could have had a really good, like, visual impact
Yeah.
too.
Mhm.
They did not do that in the book, but or in the movie, but,
They didn't. Oh,
no, they didn't. But I was actually, like can we talk about Lee's death for a second?
yes.
Choked to death by a fucking snake. Like,
Oh,
it made
yeah.
the snake crawl into his mouth and, like, choke on him and, like, suffocate him, and, like, the
Yeah,
snake died too, and that's very sad.
yeah. I was thinking that, like, Terry or not Terry, Lee was gonna choke on it, but then the snake was gonna, like, burst out of his
Like,
abdomen. Yeah, yeah, I thought the snake was gonna do that, and I was gonna be like, "Good for you, snake."
good for you. Yeah. Get out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but
Yeah.
yeah, crazy
Like, I did
scene.
find that very satisfying.
Yeah, me too.
A
And
very awful way to die for a very awful human being.
yes, and Eric just got shot by Lee, right? So that was like I was like, "That's nice that Ig doesn't have to worry about that being him."
Right? Yeah. But, like, just the fact that Eric was there anyway, like, you don't really expect that there's gonna be this, like, almost shootout,
Yeah.
like, Wild West scenario, like, people coming at you from all directions, but,
Mhm. What a
and it was
dumb
just very
son of a bitch, that man. Like, he is, like, just blindly so loyal to Lee for no reason. It's giving
yeah,
Trump supporter. It's giving, "I'm dumb and evil, and I just blindly follow you for no fucking reason."
yeah, 'cause he
R
had helped
yeah.
you. That yeah,
R.I.P. Eric, you would have loved Trump.
really, he was. Well, he's not there at the end of the book, so
Yeah, thank God.
but
True.
yeah, it was just a wild ending. And then because Lee comes or Terry, fuck all these generic man names. Terry comes out and he distracts them with his trumpet, which I thought was
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was also gonna include some, like, deep dive theories I found on Reddit about, like, horns as, like, devil horns and the title of the book versus, like, playing the horn, like the
Yeah.
trumpet. Like, there were lots of, like, kind of ties between them in the theming, but a lot of it was a little, like, woo woo, and a lot of it I found was kind of a reach. Like, I was like, "I'm not sure."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of like there's that anecdote of like the devil playing the fiddle and
Yeah,
like
yeah, true.
doing deals that way. So, and especially with how it ended, like Ig ends up after so long of being like asthmatic essentially and not being
Mhm.
able to play the trumpet in the same way that his brother can, picks
Yeah.
up a trumpet at the end and like as Lee is walking off into his future or
Mhm.
as Terry
Sorry.
is like he vaguely hears the sound of a trumpet
Yeah.
like in the woods and you're just like, oh, like Ig's finally playing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so sweet, so cathartic. Like, Joe Hill really tied a bunch of things together quite nicely at the end. I was super impressed.
Yeah.
Um, anything else that you were like, I needed to talk about XYZ?
No, I think that was pretty much it. It was like I thought you were going to talk more about the snakes just because they freak you out so much.
They're just
I
really
thought that
scary.
was such an interesting like connection is because not only do snakes symbolize like temptation, the devil,
Mhm,
like that kind of stuff, but
mhm.
they also can be symbols of like transformation and healing because of the way they shed their skin. So it's like a
Oh,
little bit of
I'm like,
a
"Oh."
your facial expression.
Oh, I love them
Well, I'm
now.
into it, but I hate it. But I like
And I love the fact actually, speaking of the snakes, earlier in the book, like, they made a point to be like, Lee fucking hates snakes. Like, Lee is like, "Ugh," every time he encounters one, and so for him to die via getting choked by a snake was, like, pretty
uh-huh.
satisfying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a very satisfying like death for
yeah,
sure.
agreed. Ugh,
Yeah,
oh my
you wrote
god.
that really well.
Oh, we've only been recording for an hour and a half. I'm actually impressed. I thought it was going to be longer.
Same. I thought we'd go off on like way more tangents than we actually did.
Yeah,
So
me
good for
too.
us.
But my last question is, where can people find you on the internet, Janine? And what do you do that would make people want to find you?
So funnily enough, I'm actually a wedding photographer. I do weddings and portraits. My Instagram is janine.rose. And that's where you can find me. That's kind of like the only place on the internet I live. I'm really bad at social media in general. So
It's the
I'll
best
see you
place
over
for
there.
it.
Instagram's the only thing I can handle.
Yeah, best place for it. I'll put Janine's website in the description of where the descriptions are for these postings, as well as her Instagram handle. You should follow her if you need photography needs. And it's not just limited to Edmonton either. This bitch travels.
I do. I do love it. It's
Yeah.
good. Good time.
But thank you so much for yapping to me about horns and being on the first episode of Pretty Well Read.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. It was
Oh,
so much fun. I always love to yap about my favorite books. So
yeah,
and
it's
yeah,
yeah.
Joe Hill's one of my favorites. So
Oh, it's so funny too because I was like, I'll do the heavy lifting and the research. You just have to like know this book. And you were like, I'm gonna make notes and I'm gonna reread it and I'm gonna watch the movie. Like you
I
were
take
like,
it very seriously, okay? You can't feel like you're doing your first ever podcast. Thanks so much. Bye. And just expect me to rock up with no preparation. Do you
yeah,
even know me?
that's true. It was so sweet. It was actually really helpful too. So thank you so
Good.
much for doing that.
No, it's
Um,
really nice. I don't I don't reread a lot of books anymore. There's so many books now that I just like
yes.
I don't have time. I need to I'm always reading something new. So like being
Mhm.
able to have an excuse to go back and revisit one of my favorites was very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. And thanks to everybody who listened to the first episode. Go ahead and give it a like or a rating or leave a comment where you can, wherever you're listening from. Let me know what you think. And thank you so much for following along. More to come. I've actually already asked 3 more people to be guests. So I'm not sure RE cadence yet, but you'll see when I do. And thanks again, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.